everybody, Carl Kuhn with Exit Blue Water Realty. So I'm going to make a quick video on a topic that I brought up at our last brokerage meeting that some people wanted me to put into a video form or give them some more information on because they thought it was pretty valuable. And it had to do with a lesson my dad taught me in regards to the way you receive information, the way you process things like statistics and news and things like that, and the importance of having context and a larger understanding whenever you're presented information. And that has to do with real estate, that has to do with any news that you see from any source in the media. Now, for those of you who don't know, my dad lived in East Germany from 1940 to 1955. So he got to see firsthand both extreme forms of government. On the left side, obviously, was communism in East Germany. And on the right side was fascism under the Nazis. But oddly enough, there were some similarities that both forms of government had, and one of which was the control of information. For example, when it was East Germany, they only had one newspaper. And that paper was the party line that was edited and controlled by the government. So all the information they received was from one source, and it was through the lens and the context that they wanted. And so the story my dad told me was right after World War II, that there was an area of Germany where they had some U.S. troops and some Soviet troops that were within very close proximity to each other, and the war's over, they're bored, they don't have a whole lot to do, so they decide to have a good, just for fun, a race. So they have a race between a Jeep from the United States and whatever the Soviet equivalent of their Jeep is in their military. And so they go to this racetrack out in Germany, and they race the two Jeeps, and the American Jeep, of course, wins. It laps the other vehicle by like 20 laps, not even a close race. But when it was reported in the newspaper in East Germany, the newspaper reported that the Russian Jeep finished second and that the American Jeep finished next to last. Now, if you think about that, if you read that paper, it would present you an idea that the Russian Jeep did considerably better than the American Jeep, because you think next to last, well, that's terrible, and second is good. But if you break it down even further, if you have two vehicles racing, then yes, the one that wins would technically be next to last, and the one that comes in second would be last, but it would still be considered second place. But if you had no context or any idea of that, it could be presented and was presented in a way which is incredibly misleading, even though technically it's factually correct. And that's something that you need to keep in mind, everyone needs to keep in mind, both when you read things in the newspaper, real estate especially, you hear about housing starts and things like that. If you don't have someone to put it in context, it can be presented in a way which is, at best, questionably phrased. At worst, it's willfully done. That's propaganda by its very nature. So it's just a story that I told, and some people seem to think that was a very interesting way of looking at it, because we do this all the day when we have information that's presented to us. Very often it's not done in a framework where there's any additional context, mostly because there's sometimes not enough time to do it, but frankly, people don't care. I mean, they want sound bites. They want a 5 or 10 second sound bite, and that's all they're going to think about. So hopefully the video gives you some idea, the lessons my dad learned, and also that next time you see or read something, to kind of maybe keep in mind what's the greater context of it, what's the background story, because it's important and it does matter. And if you just take things on face value, sometimes, even though, like I said, technically it is correct, it's misleading, and you can get in a lot of trouble reading things and believing things that frankly aren't true. So hopefully it helps you. Have a good day, you guys. Take care.